Snowflakes drifted quietly outside the cracked window of a dim apartment. Inside, Amara, just 19, sat curled beneath a threadbare blanket, counting coins and wondering if they'd stretch to next week's groceries. Life had never been kind, but she carried on, working double shifts at the diner, skipping meals so she could keep the lights on. Just as she was drifting into uneasy sleep, a knock shattered the silence. Startled, she opened the door cautiously. Standing there was a man in a worn coat, his arms wrapped around a little boy who looked no older than 6. The child's lips were blue from cold. The man's voice was low, desperate but respectful. "I don't want trouble. We just need a place to sleep, just for one night. Please." Amara hesitated. She had so little. What if they were dangerous? What if this was a mistake? But then she looked into the boy's eyes, tired, scared, and so very cold. Something inside her shifted. She stepped aside. "It's not much," she whispered, "but you can stay." She gave them her last bowl of soup and found an old pillow for the boy. He fell asleep quickly, warm for the first time in days. The man quietly thanked her, his voice cracking with emotion. Amara said nothing more, she just nodded and sat in silence, watching them, unaware that this simple act of kindness would change all of their lives forever. The kitchen was barely big enough for 3, but it felt warmer than it had in weeks. The flickering stove glowed softly as Amara stirred a pot of watery vegetable soup, the only meal she could afford. She placed 3 chipped bowls on the table and added 2 slices of toast, dry, but golden. To her, it was nothing. To them, it was everything. Daniel murmured his thanks, helping Leo to the table. The boy's eyes lit up at the sight of the food. He didn't complain, didn't hesitate. He ate like he hadn't had a warm meal in days. Amara watched quietly, her heart tight. Daniel introduced himself in between spoonfuls. His name was Daniel, and his son, Leo. That's all he offered, and she didn't pry. Something about the way he looked at Leo said enough. They talked, lightly at first. About the weather, how cold the town had gotten. About how Leo liked trains. Amara told him she used to love trains too, back when life was simpler. They laughed softly. The kind of laugh that heals, if only a little. Later, as the cold crept back in through the walls, Leo crawled into Amara's lap, his tiny fingers clutching hers. Within minutes, he was asleep, warm and safe. Daniel smiled gently, grateful beyond words. Amara looked down at the sleeping child and felt something shift deep inside. A strange kind of peace, long forgotten, bloomed in her chest. For the first time in months, she felt full. Whole. The morning sun peeked through the gray clouds, casting a soft glow on the snow-covered street outside Amara's apartment. Inside, the warmth of the night still lingered, though the reality of goodbye pressed in. Daniel gently shook Leo awake and helped him bundle up. Amara offered them the last of her tea in paper cups, her smile small but sincere. "We can't thank you enough," Daniel said quietly, his voice rough with sleep and emotion. "You didn't have to let us in. Most wouldn't have." Amara shrugged, trying to downplay the weight of what she'd done. "You looked like you needed it." Before stepping outside, Daniel paused. He pulled a pen from his coat pocket and scribbled on a napkin. "Your name and address," he said. "Just in case. I don't forget." She laughed lightly, not unkindly. "I doubt we'll ever cross paths again, but sure." She handed him her name and address, never thinking he'd use it. With one last grateful look, Daniel took Leo's hand, and they stepped into the cold. Amara stood at the door watching them disappear into the snow. Only after they were gone did she notice something left behind on the chair, a small, knitted blue scarf. Leo's. She picked it up, holding it to her chest. It was soft and still warm. She smiled sadly, tucking it away in a drawer. Just a forgotten scarf to most, but to her, it was proof that for one night, kindness had found a home. The sky was painted with soft hues of orange and pink as Amara trudged home from another long shift at the diner. Her feet ached, and the cold nipped at her cheeks. As she rounded the corner to her apartment building, she froze. A black car, sleek, polished, and clearly expensive, sat parked by the curb. Its presence didn't belong in her neighborhood. Her eyes narrowed as the back door opened and a man stepped out. It was Daniel. But not the Daniel she remembered. Gone were the tattered coat and weary eyes. He wore a tailored suit, his posture confident and composed. The same warm kindness remained in his eyes, but now it was paired with a quiet strength. Amara stared, stunned. "Hi, Amara," he said gently, stepping toward her. "What is this?" she asked, completely thrown. Daniel took a deep breath. "I wasn't honest with you. I'm not who I seemed that night. I'm Daniel Reed, CEO of Arctics Technologies. After my wife died last year, I left everything. I needed to disconnect, to find something real again." He reached into his coat and held out an envelope. "Inside is something that I hope changes your life the way you changed mine." Then, with a soft smile, he handed her a familiar bundle, Leo's little blue scarf. Amara's hands trembled as she took it. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You gave us warmth when we had nothing," he said. "Now, I'd like to return that favor, and more." Sunlight streamed through wide, spotless windows as laughter echoed in the background. Amara stood in the middle of a bright, welcoming space filled with shelves of books, soft blankets, and children's drawings on the walls. The small plaque by the door read, "The Haven, because one night can change a life." It had only been a few months since that cold winter evening, but her world was unrecognizable now. The envelope Daniel gave her hadn't just contained a thank you, it held a full scholarship to study social work, a paid position at his foundation, and enough funding to open a shelter for struggling youth and single parents. People like her. People who only needed one open door to believe again. Now, Amara spent her days helping others find their feet, serving meals, offering warmth, and sharing quiet moments of comfort with those who needed it most. And on weekends, Leo would visit, running through the halls like the place was home. He'd always bring her flowers. Daniel often came too, always smiling, always proud. Amara had given shelter for one night. She hadn't expected anything in return. But in doing so, she'd been given everything: education, purpose, stability. And the beginnings of a new kind of family. As she tucked Leo's scarf into a drawer in her office, she smiled, heart full. She thought she was just helping for one night. But her kindness opened the door to a lifetime of love, purpose, and an unexpected family.